the April 9th facilities meeting. In attendance is Mr. Durso, Mr. Peterson as a member of the public, Mr. Small, Mr. J. Scott, Ms. Haynes, Mr. B. Scott, and Mr. Blankenbiller, and of course myself, Mr. Wolf, and Mr. Rathgub is here in his ex officio capacity. Take it away.
All right, in front of you, I just figured I'd kind of give, since finance is here as well, give you a long list of the current projects, issues, things that need to be done throughout the school district. So I'm just going to hit each item real quickly, one by one. So if you have any questions, I can quickly answer them.
High school clocks.
It's on there. It's on there.
I know. We've talked about clocks so many times.
Yeah. And I'll kind of fill. All right, so I'm just going to go down through here. Library, canopy, metal roof coating. That is on the agenda for tonight on the committee of the whole. It's $77,000 and change. They will be doing a 4-step coating process of the metal roof. Gives us a 12-year warranty. Front walkway replacements. We did the front sidewalk along the parking lot and the driveway area. That would be the walkways going from the new to the doorways. We have issues where the doorway stoop is lifting, and during the winter time, and the doors are very difficult to open and close. So we are going to have to address that at some point. Contractor was here the other day to look at everything again to get me updated pricing. Main gym rooftop unit replacement. The main gymnasium at the high school, there are 4 rooftop units that feed that gymnasium. 1 unit currently for air conditioning is down, is inoperable. The coil kind of self-destructed, has about 60 cracks in it. The compressor's bad. The price to rebuild it, I might as well just replace it. It's 20 years old. So Train and I have been talking about various options as to replacement. You have 19 rooftop units on that section of that building, on that portion of the high school, that are all 20 years old. So that is something we need to start planning for, to start doing some upgrades with some of that equipment.
Can I ask a quick question, Casey? 'Cause I know Train's top of the line. I mean, are there other options?
The issue is Train's our control system. So that's where you start getting into having issues. If I buy somebody else's equipment, then I have to have their control system to control it, to be able to view it. So you can go with another manufacturer, but you have to have that manufacturer be able to talk to the Train front end. So,
The reason I'm asking, you said we got 20 units. So if we're going to start replacing all these units, is now the time to say, do we go to a different?
well,
And then at the same time get different control systems?
correct. A lot of the units are outside air units, so they're just bringing in your fresh air into the facility. Our requirements today are a lot different than what they were 20 years ago. 20 years ago, they were still sizing it for people who smoked. Well, of course, nobody's allowed to smoke in schools anymore. So now they are treating outside air treatment a whole lot different. So we may not even need that quantity of equipment. So we're kind of looking at the whole high school as a whole and trying to figure out what's our best option. Do we need to do even 4 units for the gymnasium? Maybe we do 1 unit that is just outside air, and we're just treating the outside air constantly and just dumping a certain portion of the air into the space, and let the other 3 just make up the heat and cooling. So that's just kind of just to let you know that this is something that we're looking at a whole lot of options kind of thing. But it's going to come up. Right now we're okay with 3 units. I've actually ran last year on 1.5 units, which we didn't realize until the end of cooling season.
I could do that.
Yeah, so there were some times where the 1.5 was not recovering in time. So the annex gym, air handler replacement, air conditioner installation. There again, when they renovated the annex, they stopped the air conditioning at the D section of the annex. So the entire E section, which is the locker rooms, weight rooms, art rooms, and the gymnasium, do not have air conditioning. Those units are original units. They are from 1964. We started having some nuisance issues. Right now, we only have one of the gym units up and running for heat and one small one on the lower area. There's another thing. Been talking to Train about what is the best way to approach replacement of those / upgrade / whatever we can do. And there again, air conditioning installation is just the piping's in the hallway. I'm told from Train that it was sized accordingly for air conditioning those spaces. They just never installed the piping to the air handlers. So,
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I was told that the annex was supposed to be demolished when the high school was renovated. I heard they were supposed to take part of the annex away, which never happened.
I thought my recollection of it is there was an investment issue when, like, in the middle of construction, and then it was like a lot of plans got changed. So,
Well, it's one of those historical questions we'll probably never know the answer to.
yep. The annex gym bleachers, removal replacement, currently they're inoperable. They are screwed closed with the 2x4s, and they should really get removed, at least for the short term, so they're out of the way. They're starting to break just from baseball practice, softball practice, kids being destructive,
Do
so
they
on
ever
and so.
get used, ever?
No, they're screwed
they're
closed.
condemned.
They're
They were-
condemned.
yeah.
Yeah, I should go, yeah.
Yeah,
Mr., well, I think they were done before.
they were done before I got
Yeah.
here.
But I remember, I can't remember his name now, that he had somebody, I'm going to say, categorize him as an Amish guy, who was really interested in taking the bleachers from the wood and was willing to do the work to remove everything, for that scrap value. That's what he said. Now, whether
I can
anyone's
tell you
still
one
interested-
thing, if I ever build a house, I'll definitely be coming to you guys saying, hey, I'll take them out for my hardwood floors.
Amish men,
Make sure they don't use it for the bonfire at the high school.
There you go, it'll be a heck of a bonfire.
Mr. Smith, that's it.
that's something we talked about, stuff that could get auctioned. That's one of those things where,
And that may be something you want to just put maybe an RFP out and just see what kind of people interest that you have. Because you would be
That's,
surprised, cabinet makers and stuff that come in there,
Austin, was that
yellow
the,
pine.
Was that the gym that they used to use back in our championship basketball days?
What's that?
Was that the gym they used to use back then?
What year was the championship basketball?
What was that? That was back in...
Well, the girls were really good right when I was in school, but
Are they full
I mean, they had that boys team back
What's
in
that?
Are
the...
they full 8-quarter
what was it, maybe it
thickness?
was the 80s?
I think so.
yeah, I would have been the
This
gym.
guy over
I mean,
here
until
at the
'98,
old
that's what they
airport.
used.
Maybe we sell it
Farm
to the
Table
alumni.
Company?
Yeah.
Get your seat, get your old seat.
All right. Not to get
Yep. Annex gym batting cage installation. The batting cage was purchased. We installed it just on cabling. It is becoming quite the pain in the rear for the gym classes because we have to pull it back against the bleachers. And I've asked Mr. Schmidt to kind of come up with a game plan as to what he's going to do with that annex gymnasium. We're going to kind of do a multi-purpose gym kind of thing, and it limits the usage of that gymnasium at times. If it should be suspended from a ceiling on a framework that can be lowered and raised with just a key switch. High school clock replacement / upgrade. Telecor no longer supports the digital clocks that we have in the high school. Also, you have 50-year-old clocks in the old part of the annex. So that is something I will be working on here in the next month or two. I've had a couple vendors in to look at it, and I need to get some pricing put together. So when I get back from Virginia Beach, that will be something I will be working on. High school HVAC communication cabling. When they replaced the units a couple years ago, some of the units, they were replaced. The communication circuit board inside the unit is different, so a cable needs to be run back to the home unit, if you want to call it that. It's about a $10,000 expense to pull wire throughout the whole high school to all those units. So I'll get an official number for those. Water heater replacements. We've replaced 4 of the 10 water heaters. They are wall-mounted water heaters. So we have 2 more that are bad, so we'll continue to work on those. Window replacement, warranty issue, the windows were installed, the gasketing between the 2 panes is pushing out. We've done the 2 times since I've been here, there's been 2 batches of windows, we now have a 3rd batch of windows in the basement. I need to get revised pricing because it's over our thresholds. So that'll be that. Parking lot, crack sealing, coat and line painting, we discussed at last facilities. Pole barn storage facility would be the old macadam area up on top of the hill. You'll be seeing some pricing for that.
And this would replace that shed that we have down?
Yeah.
Where the
Yep.
truck keeps all the, okay.
Yep. Dugout shingle replacement and the
What's that
softball.
What's that replacing?
There's a football like storage portable shed up there.
It's like
It's in the
tan.
third turn.
It's like tan. It's kind of falling
It's in
apart.
turn 3.
No, you're talking about the one on the track. You're
No,
not
I'm talking the one up on
track.
top of the hill.
It's above,
Oh, well,
it's above the
that-
The one
football
up on
field.
top of the
I was gonna say, the one
hill,
up-
up on top of the
the
hill.
one on
But
top
that
of
would
it
be
right
for
now.
all of our jumping pads, football gear, hurdles, all that kind of stuff to get it.
They keep all that up there?
No, right now, some of it's stored under the bleachers, some of it's stored outside the bleachers, some of it's stored on the macadam area, just out in the open. We have to move the jumping pads into the garage for the winter so they don't get collapsed by the snow. But, it's just,
Okay.
Is this some of the stuff that, since we're kind of lightening the load per se on, uniforms and such, is this some of the stuff we can approach some of the teams or boosters about, maybe helping us out with?
possibly, I'm just
Yeah, I know.
Trying to give you-
Yep.
a whole lot to digest here. Dugout shingle replacement. The baseball and softball fields roofs need to be reshingled, so you're gonna see some costs coming through for that. Library HVAC unit replacement. One of the units that currently feeds the high school library is bad. Half of the unit is bad, I should say. One compressor and one coiler are bad. The problem is you have to access those units from the science room at the top of next to the elevator through a little hatch door. The unit that's bad, of course, is the unit behind the first unit. So we'd have to actually yank out both units to replace the
Sounds like an auto
defective
mechanic.
unit. Huh?
It's like an auto mechanic.
Yeah.
I gotta
Yeah.
block the whole engine and get to that.
Pretty much. So that's not an inexpensive job. That's why it's still in there. We have multiple classroom units that need to be replaced. These were classrooms that were not being used by the high school staff. They're going to repurpose these spaces for testing and stuff, so those will happen this summer. Door replacement update. Jeff Scott loves me talking about doors, so I just forgot to throw this on here. The total doors
I
are...
was so shocked it wasn't in the top 10.
What I wrote with Total Doors was the manufacturer that built these doors. They're failing. So you will continue to see prices for that. Stairwell handrail replacement, we discussed last facilities. Contractor was here last week, measured everything up again to verify some things. Front entry sidewalk handrail replacement, we discussed. This is the front entrance of the high school. There's 4 sections that have a big crack. There's a corner of a section that is cracked out, and the one handrail is pretty well damaged. It's okay, but it needs to be replaced. Classroom and hallway painting. The building's 20 years old. It needs to be repainted. So, contractor was here last week. We looked at about 14 different projects with them.
We had talked about the student that had that destroyed the doors. and
Yep.
As far as talking.
Yeah, we're
with
just
them.
waiting to hear back from, I guess, Subers on that one. The student can work his hours off. So, the thought is, kind of pick either a hallway or a whole floor and try to get that done like a summer at a time over the next couple summers, rather than trying to do the whole building at once. Annex classroom rug replacement. We have 2 classrooms. I think it's B 6 and 7, 5 and 6. Ebling and
It would be Werner.
Warner. Those 2 classrooms are rug, and they smell god awful, and they can no longer be cleaned. They need to be removed and either VCT put down, or some type of a linoleum product, or something like that. That's commercial grade. So I had About All Floors here last month to look at it. They are a CoStar's vendor, and I think they have emailed me, but I have to go back through my notes.
What's the reason that, is it a moisture problem?
They're just dirty. It's just,
But you could go back there with.
they've shampooed them. We could do carpet tile. We could just some other type of
Moisture
flooring.
isn't a problem if
No.
you wanted a carpeted surface.
Yeah. The teachers like the carpet, to be honest with you. They're happy with the carpet.
You can replace
Yep.
individual tiles.
Yeah, so we
Get
talked
rid
about a
of
lot of
the
things. VCT floor tile replacement entrances, hallways. You will notice in the high school, the VCT is starting to separate in the seams. About All Floors was in and did moisture samples. There's definitely moisture pushing up through the concrete. So, and that, with the way the years past, they have stripped the floors with excessive amounts of water, that has caused that VCT to shrink a little bit. It's starting to crack out. So within the next couple of years, you will definitely have a replacement need in those, and especially the gym. The gym entrance is worse than the main entrance. Main office reconfiguration, secured entrance. This has been talked about a couple times about redoing the main office, so the members of the public have to come into the breezeway, hang a right. You would open that wall up, hang a right, put a new desk in there, reconfigure the principal's offices, and so on and so forth. Jim had asked me to meet him there at some point in time. We just haven't been able to get together to look at it, but that is something I think on the security aspect of our buildings, that is the least secure office and entrance of all of
So it'll
your
look a lot
facilities.
like the middle school setup.
Yeah, exactly right. Mechanical room pump reconfiguration. Due to the fact that there's just the mechanical room is kind of laid out really dumb. The cooling tower pump should be out at the cooling tower, and then we could reconfigure some things and maybe put some filters in to try to help control the contaminants that are in the domestic hot water that have been there for 20 years. So
It's not the borough iron.
no, it's not the Burr.
We disproved
I
that
mean,
fallacy.
20 years ago, you had the top grade
So-
grade water?
But
When
I
did,
can't speak for 20 years ago, but he tried blaming it a couple months ago.
well, there is iron
How
in
many-
our water.
how many-
I'm not sure where it's coming from. There's a ton of iron in our water.
Well, maybe
So
that's-
It's still in question, right? Just
It's
for the
right.
record.
It could have been all those years before they got to the
Right.
top level of the water
Right.
treatment, that all that
I don't
stuff
think
is
it's been
pumped in
cleared. I
there.
don't think you've been cleared.
who knows?
So unclear.
But that's just something that would be a wish list item to kind of reconfigure that mechanical room to create better usable space in that mechanical room. Right now, it's just laid out really stupid. We have way too many pumps. We could get rid of some pumps. There's 6 pumps in there. We can actually run off of 2. So, and that's you'll hear that in moving forward. Annex locker room, annex weight room, HVAC units. There again, same thing as the gym. They're electric only, no air conditioning. Camera replacement, relocation.
I mean,
What's that?
besides the football team, who uses the annex locker room weight rooms
A lot of people now.
now? Okay.
Yeah. Since the baseball team uses it, track uses it. I think almost all of your sports use that one now, that they have it laid out another way. And since they repainted the whole inside of it, it looks really, really nice. Jen DeMild and the whole crew of women were in there painting and stuff like that. So more and more kids use it. So I have the heater up and running. The heater has not worked since I got here. The old football coach said he didn't want heat in
You make
there.
them sweat.
And now it works. So, but if you're looking at using that year round, in the summertime, there should be some type of dehumidification system in there, because your weights do get very rusty from all the sweat in there, because it gets hot.
Yes, it does.
Camera replacements, since we've upgraded the front end, IP camera installations moving forward. You'll hear more about that. VFD installations as variable frequency drives. It just enables you to run motors at a slower speed as needed. That would be incorporation with the pump reconfiguration in that room. I just put flagpole lighting on it. Currently our high school flag is not lit. Has to be taken up and down. So, if you wanted to run it 24/7, we'd have to put a flagpole light in.
Was it ever lit?
No,
Never.
You
no.
can go solar, we put them in our ball fields now, and you can set it up high so the kids can't break it.
Okay.
It's-
Yeah, so that's
And you don't
just,
have to worry about really doing much work to it.
okay. Storm sewer, gym floor sand and refinishing, that's just the normal maintenance thing. The main gym, the light blue is now has a nice shade of brown with the light blue, so in the next couple of years, I think you're definitely gonna wanna look at taking that fully down, sanding it all the way down. Instead of painting, they're now doing staining. Then that way you don't lose the color. And actually, they've come a long way with the solid stains for the floors. So that's just another thing. Storm sewer catch basin repairs. The way they were built, the way they were installed 20 years ago, Lauren, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we've rebuilt about 12 of them now that you've seen bills come through for them that have collapsed. So we have a couple more that are getting close to needing to be redone. Annex shrubbery replacement. If you look at the front of the annex, we have some very large arborvitae type bushes by your entrances that are now starting to drag on the roof surface. So you might want to look at doing a landscape redo at the front of that facility. Maybe have the SMAG's class maybe do a design, Mr. Smaglinski's class do a design and you know, have it done. Annex courtyard trees and stumps. There again, we have some very overgrown trees in the courtyards. They're very dirty. We have some old stumps that are in there as well, which kind of limits the usage of those courtyards. How much time? Okay, try to keep rolling here.
Now, when you go through this list, what on this list of the big ticket items do you have in your rolling budget from prioritization that you guys put together?
The concrete work's in here, some doors are in here, HVAC units are in here, kind of,
That was gonna be my comment when you get through here. We need to do a full prioritization on this
Yep.
in order to tie it into my,
Because I don't see
Capital plan.
the high school football field track
Turf
to be, turf replacement. I know
That's
I know you have a sub account that you've been
yep,
saving
that's
for
in
that.
ours.
Fix the track too.
Yeah, the length of a
Fix the
track.
track.
Oh,
Go back to cinders, that's what he's asking.
No.
Old school.
And that's kind of why I wanted to give you the list, so if there's something that you guys as a facility feel that we need to kind of do first, I mean, I know what my priority list would be, you know, kind of thing, so I can gladly go through this and give you a 1 through 5, and that's not a problem at all. I've done in the past for customers.
I think that's
so.
why we look to you and the business office to make recommendations.
Yep.
And what's the most, because some things we know can be postponed or rebuilt
Yep.
or, you know, MacGyvered in some way, and then some things you just have to replace.
Right. Yeah, so that's why I wanted to kind of give everybody a full-blown list. There again, the cameras at the middle school, we did the front end. It's working well. We found 24 cameras that are not communicating. I'll be working on those the next couple weeks.
The existing ones or the new
Yeah.
ones? New ones.
Yeah, they have balance, which you know what a balun is, at each end. So I have power going to each camera, but I do not have the signal coming back. I find it hard to believe I have 24 defective cameras. So I think there's a communication issue.
Or like you have we found in the clocks at Monocacy, you have one that's interrupting the signal to all of them.
Correct. So that's what I kind of have to tear into a little bit. The terrazzo floor expansion joint, there's 2 spots that the terrazzo floor in the hallways has pushed up at an expansion joint underneath.
What's a terrazzo floor expansion joint?
That's
Just a rubber
That's
piece
just,
that
it's just,
goes
it's just a piece of metal that goes down
the grid.
the grid, and then what happened is the terrazzo is actually pushed up. So if you look at the walls, you can see there's an expansion joint in the walls. So there's obviously an expansion joint under the terrazzo in the concrete, or a saw cut or something that has not allowed things to move properly. So the the terrazzo has actually come up to the point where the one spot, it's up probably a good half an inch to 3/4 of an inch. So that will, when About All Floors was here, he looked at it, it'll have to just cut it back and then readdress that expanse, joint there. And
There's no crack in the surface of the terrazzo?
no, it's just curled. I've never seen it before, and it's a 2 spots.
Yeah. Bubbles, curl? Oh, I've seen, we got,
Well, we got the
All kinds
bubbles.
of- All kinds of bubbles.
I've never seen a curl like that.
And it's on both sides. It's on both sides, so,
Floating.
yeah,
You got a lot of that going on.
yeah. Rooftop unit ductwork installation, it is a rubber jacketed insulation. It has gotten some weep holes in it, which there again, the bottom of it has filled up with water and is starting to collapse. So you'll be seeing a price from me in the next couple of weeks for that replacement. ERUs or energy recovery units, more or less they treat the outside air coming into the building. We have some compressor issues. Unfortunately, if one compressor goes down, we have to replace both, and it's about $12,000 each time. Right now, I'm running 2 of them on 3 of the 4 compressors. So, rooftop units at the middle school that handle the gymnasium. When the gentleman got stung by the bee and wrecked the Comcast van and took out the pole a couple months ago, I should say. It was during the summer. He actually was driving on the road. He's allergic to bees, and the bee flew into his shirt, and he's doing one of these, trying to kill the bee, and he went off the side of the road, sheared the pole, flipped the van. We ended up single phasing our middle school. So I'm starting to have some electrical issues that are now due to that. I can't prove that's what it was, but it's all issues. Luckily, the guy was okay, but
Is Comcast helping us?
you can't prove it's them. It's just, you can't
It's their
prove
van.
it. Yeah,
What
but
do you
you
want to do,
can't,
sue the bee?
yeah, you can't prove that
No,
it
but
was, but I'm starting to have some,
If I hit it,
If it could have been
they'd
proven.
be after my
yeah,
accident,
if it would have happened right
wow.
away, it would have been one of those things, but we're talking, this is 8 months ago, 9 months ago, so, we're starting to have some control board failures and stuff like that, so it's just too coincidental that it's
How long
happening.
did you single phase?
Well, it depends on what piece of equipment. If the generator kicked in right away, not long at all. If the pumps were trying to run until I got there, they called me, I got there about 10 minutes, and just started turning things off. So it was, until I got through that whole building, it could have been 20 to 25 minutes till I got everything turned off. So
So the generator didn't kick in?
it kicked in, but not everything's on.
Oh, okay.
Like the freezer's on it, the walk-in refrigerator's on it, but I think that's only 3-phase stuff that's on it. So, downspout replacements and upgrades. AEC is the same issue, so I won't hit that when I go to AEC. The downspouts go in the walls. They've failed. We need to run them outside the walls, tie them back into the rain leaders. We talked about that. I'll have pricing shortly for that. Storm sewer catch basins, the same as the high school. Gym drop ceiling tile replacement. It's just very dirty. The drop ceiling in that gymnasium, that should be replaced in the next couple of years. It's starting to become quite the eyesore, and it's a textured ceiling, so you can't even go up there and try to vacuum it. It's just,
If we're changing out the LEDs, is now the time the lift's going to be here?
it's gonna be a big dollar item.
All right, just thought I'd ask.
I thought about it too today. I was like, I'm not gonna, it's not gonna be cheap. It's because they're a real heavy, dense drop
I'm
ceiling
not just
tile.
talking like a couple around the vents, we're talking the whole.
No, we're talking, I think if we do like 3 rows around the vents, you're gonna see the rest need to be redone. So if you're gonna be in there, you just,
It'll be a multicolor look.
Many shades of gray.
yeah, exactly. Concrete replaces the doorways, same issue as we have at the high school. There's 2 of them. Pricing will come shortly for those.
Is that the one at the?
That's the one at the cafeteria.
Cafeteria that you've
Yep.
been knocking down and shaving off for
Yeah,
years?
we've ground it twice. It
Okay.
needs to be done. Last year, you could not use that door for about 4 weeks. this past winter. Parking lot crack sealing, same thing. Directional signage, Mr. Schmidt made up some temporary signage to direct people to the office and the gym entrances. We may want to look in at making some really nice signage there to direct people in the right end of the building, since the front of the building's at the back of the building. Greenhouse installation, I had to put,
Just cross that.
Yeah,
Just-
just-
I know, I just had to
Move
put
on.
on there. It's,
Yeah, move on.
okay, all right,
Sounds good.
good for me.
We're selling that.
Tennis court repairs, yeah, tennis court repairs, that'll be coming up here shortly.
This is the
This
correct.
is the one that, the one that was damaged by the coach chopping ice.
Oh, this is the one we got.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Someone will buy it.
Possible interior key, rekey to move into the new keying system using the high school. Since we rekeyed the high school, we ought to look at possibly in the future moving all of the buildings into the new keying system. That way we would have one key for people like myself, Lauren, superintendent, business managers, everybody, that would need to gain access to the buildings, that we'd have one key that would get us everywhere. So, Amity Elementary, shingle roof underlayment lift and popping nails. I don't even know if I brought this up
You
at a
did.
facility. I did.
You did before. Yeah.
Sensenig Roofing was in, opened up a section of the roof, found that the installation is not correct. Just the practice at that time was not the best. They have 4 screws along the perimeter of a sheet on a 4-foot section of the sheet, and there should be probably 6. So what's happening is the underlayment is starting to curl just due to age, which therefore is popping the nails out of the shingles. The best remedy for that, according to Tremco, is probably to go with a metal roof over top of it and just leave it as is. Rather than trying to re-shingle and re-underlayment everything, just put a metal roof over top of it. So that you'll hear coming forward, but there's really nothing we can do.
I'm not sure I want to hear that.
What's that?
I'm not sure I want to hear that.
I know that, but I'm just want to let everybody know. Cafeteria floor, we've discussed it. I'm waiting for about all floors to come back to me and give me some ideas on how to address it. Camera system, software upgrade. We did the middle school and high school. Amity would be the next one on the list to upgrade. The sidewalk replacement is at the rear of the building where the buses load and unload. If you've gone back there lately, there's some pretty big chunks out of the curbs, and there's a lot of sections of the sidewalk that is failing. So that is definitely going to be something that we're going to need to address this summer at some point in time. Storm sewer catch basin repairs, same thing as the high school and middle school. The brick fillers start failing. The wooden guide rail replacement repairs, that's the wooden guardrail that goes along the bank between Amity Primary and Amity Elementary. It's starting to rot at areas. Those are some pretty serious timbers that are there. Some of the posts are starting to rot, so that'll be a cost moving forward. There again, flagpole light, crack ceiling, the gym lighting's on the cow agenda. That building's 15 years old, is due for repainting, the hallways especially, just from all the kids going down the halls with their bags and everything else. There again, possible interior rekey to make it the same keying system, and gym floor sanding. Monocacy Elementary, gym lighting we've discussed. The upper parking lot water issue, we did a small repair to that 2 years ago now, which is pretty much remedied for about 10 months out of the year. There's still about 2 months out of the year where it comes up the other cracks. I'm going to get a price on making that, taking a 90 and turning it about another 40 feet or so, and get that pipe going across to catch the moisture in the ground. To run it to the pipe that we have. It's not a necessity by any means, but I'm just keeping an eye on the macadam to see how the macadam's holding up. The sidewalk sinking in areas. We had a contractor that was supposed to do the slab jacking of the circle. They came here on 3 different occasions, tried it once. their pump didn't work to inject the foam. The second time, I don't know what happened, they left. The third time they came back and they were here a couple hours and they left. I've never received a bill. They were never able to lift the sidewalks, but we do have an issue there with the sidewalks starting to sink along the curb edge. So we're gonna need to resolve that. There again, storm sewers, parking lots. That building does not have cameras. It's the only one in the school district that doesn't have any type of camera system. So that is something I'm going to get pricing on for security reasons. Birdsboro Elementary, we've discussed it, the HVAC upgrade replacement, including controls, parking lot milling and resurfacing, parking lot electrical replacement for the lights, oil tank. The oil tank is between the chiller and the buildings. It's still in the ground. That's a 10,000 gallon oil tank that will need to be removed at some point in time.
Is it empty?
It is empty. It is empty. All the piping's out of it, at least all the pipe is out of the mechanical room. There's nothing in there anymore except for the gauge that's on the wall.
What do you do with an old oil tank?
Dig it out and,
Pay a lot of money to dispose of it.
yep,
Call DEP and pay the.
yep.
Yeah, it's not cheap to get rid of one.
Yeah, and it's not going away, so it's definitely something we have to make provisions for in the next couple of years, I think. Because the other problem is access to it. You're gonna have to remove the one. You're gonna have to move the one chiller out of the way, which luckily that's a chiller that's singled. It only feeds the gymnasium, the office, and that kind of stuff. So it would be pretty easy to disconnect that from the system. Just pick it up, move it, and then you'd have access for your
Is it
backhoes.
underground or is it above ground?
What's that?
The oil tank.
Underground.
Maybe they'll let you fill it in.
Yeah,
Maybe they'll cement it.
Hafer was out and looked at it, and more or less said, hey, when you guys decide when you want to do it, just let us know, and they can help write all the specs and whatever else kind of thing. And a lot of things here, are on here, with the building being closed, with stuff that's going to need to be addressed, gym lights. There's sidewalk replacements and repairs that need to be done. There's catch basins, the brick inspection, classroom wall, possible rekey, dehumidification system for the first floor classrooms. Regardless of what you do with the building, there's going to be a humidity issue there. So we're going to have to either get a whole bunch, keep a whole bunch of dehumidifiers running, or actually put a design system in to keep that first floor dehumidified. And then the water heater replacement.
Jim will go in and dump them out every morning.
He does it every day.
That's what he said. He did all summer.
He does it every day.
The water heater replacement,
It's a commitment to the cause.
We didn't quite.
replacement, upgrade, and redesign. That water heater is kind of on its last legs. We've done some Band-Aids on it.
Is that the infamous water heater that we've had forever?
Yeah. This one has been there for a long time. And then just here at the administration building, the water softener, I have one turned off of the two tanks because there'd be a $900 repair. They're so grossly oversized because we no longer use it as a school. We could put a very small water softener in here to handle the little needs that we have.
Do you even need a water softener? I mean, you're using PA American water. I can't.
It's I get some scaling
Do you?
on stuff, yeah. So, we'll have to just kind of keep an eye on it. Like I said, it's
Yeah,
nothing
I think you
that's
would need it.
sidewalk replacement. The front entrance, we have some pretty bad sidewalks in the front. We have some pretty bad sidewalks on the side, and we have bad sidewalks in the rear, at the back entrance. To the point where the stone has actually kind of started to settle underneath the sidewalk, and I can stick my tape measure in on some of them almost a foot. So the contractor was here and looked at that the other day. Parking lot there again. The side staircase, so it would be doors 2 and 3, would be the one by Lauren's office, the one by Lisa Kiki and Kathy McNeely's office. They're disintegrating and falling apart. So I'll have pricing for those rebuilds. The block foundation, same issue. It's the corner out here by door 7. If you look at the corner of the foundation of the building, the front half of the block is gone, and about 3 of the block in the corner. So, I don't know what, that could have been salt, snow, who knows what. The brick facade, it's like a veneer brick that was applied to a foam backer board. It is starting to come off in a lot of areas, especially low where the weed eaters hit it and where the kids hit it and stuff like that. So that's gonna have to be addressed. Parking lot lights, if you ever wanted to put parking lot lights in, that's another item that was discussed at one point in time. And then district-wide, I just have panic button installations. We have, when I was at Wilson School District, we put panic buttons in all the offices for all the desks. So if there was an immediate need for 911, they could just hit a button and the alarm company would automatically call out 911. So that would just be a security item.
Wouldn't necessarily have to be a phone, it's just a
Just a button.
that calls 911.
Yep. Yeah, we
Like
did
a
it.
bank or something.
Yep, just like a bank has, you
Yeah.
know.
The reason I ask is, I had given Jim about a year and a half ago, one of our emergency phones that we sent to UL, and once you send it to UL for testing, you can't sell it to a customer as new, so we donated to the district. We have another school in South Florida who's actually closing up, and they're returning all their phones, just so we could donate them.
Okay.
So it's probably like 30-plus phones, but they're phones. I mean, if
Yeah.
you've seen, I don't know if you ever saw the one I'm talking about.
I think I
It's
did.
yellow, about yay big. It's meant as you see them at Penn State, around
Right.
here, you see them at the different schools. That's what they're for, but they're communication, so it's a two-way communication.
Okay.
But as you know, when you make a call to 911, they have to come out.
Right.
So,
Yeah, so we did these, we put it at every desk in the office. So if you have 3 secretaries, there's three buttons, and we put one at the front counter. So if a parent or whatever happens, if something happens, at least that's your front line of defense. And if they get the phone call from a teacher saying, hey, there's an intruder at the back of the building, that secretary can just press that button as well. And it's an all call that goes out. So something to think about on the security side. And then, just water treatment system upgrades and HVAC control system upgrades. So,
all right, do we have time to get into the transition house lease?
Well, straight and skinny on that is that annually, if there's a desire to make any changes to that lease, we need to give them 60 days written notice, which would be May 1st. Currently, we are billing them $1,000 per month plus the utilities billed quarterly. If the board's satisfied, the committee's satisfied with the current arrangement, we do nothing.
Now, what happened to that dead tree in the corner of that property?
that's still up, the one at the driveway.
Yeah.
That needs to come down.
Whose responsibility is that, ours?
That would be ours.
Yeah, that would be ours, 'cause there's nothing that they're wanting.
Yeah, that
Is that
definitely
fair
needs.
rent?
Because that's a
Or
pretty
can we
big
raise the
tree.
rent? I mean, it seems a big place for $1,000.
We were at $1,100 a month, but we were handling everything, and then we met with their fiscal guy a couple of years back and crafted this new lease. So if we want to, have any desire to change it, we need to notify them that that's our intent.
Where is this?
It's the house right as you turn into the high school, in the main entrance, there's the house on the right.
Because they needed additional parking space, they had to buy the house to get that property to put that parking area on the side of the high school. So
Oh,
they had to buy the house.
Union Township.
We have lots of connections there.
So just sell the house.
Can we sell
What
the
are they
house?
gonna do now? I mean, they can't,
Didn't we look into that? Didn't we look into that some time ago?
it's already subdivided, I'm sure.
I thought there was some,
Yeah, there was
some snafu with this.
There was. I'm trying to think what it was. It was when I first arrived here.
That's your
Anyway,
fair.
but
you hook
Well-
me up again?
Could you, in response to Mr. Durso's request, can we find out
Thanks.
what our options are? If selling the house is an option, and if there's some
It might
red
be
tape
more
that we
money to
have.
make, it might be better to keep it and make the rent, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
As you can see, though, then you have something like this tree, then it's an additional
Right.
liability too. But
And when
There
we
may-
had the parking, whatever issue, we billed them for half of it. That's the other part of the lease. If there's anything that's necessary for repairs, they have to, they have.
Okay, the Facilities Committee is wrapped up at 7:29.